Hi everyone, today we will be presenting on Samuel Hahnemann.
Samuel Hahnemann was a German physician, a chemist, who developed homeopathy, which is a form of energetic medicine. Hahnemann was known for the principle of like cures like, which means using a remedy that matches the totality of symptoms of a patient, because such a remedy will stimulate the patient's vital force to counteract and restore health. Hahnemann also developed the law of infinitesimals. The more diluted the remedies, the more effective at treating diseases they are. In other words, higher dilution, higher potency. The Age of Enlightenment, or Age of Reason, was an intellectual, social, and cultural movement in Europe, mostly France, but also England, Germany, and other parts of Europe, in which there was a tremendous intellectual and scientific progress. There was a diverse group of thinkers who advocated that reason was a way to establish authority in all fields of society, to promote objective truth in the human experience. The movement was in response of religious authoritarianism and superstition, which, according to thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment, brought suffering and death to millions of people in religious wars. The expectation of people was that philosophy, which included social and natural sciences, would dramatically improve human life. Some contribution to the Age of Enlightenment are encyclopedias, which were a way to share and expand knowledge and educate people. Some thinkers who challenged previous perspectives and ideas were Isaac Newton, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Baron de Montesquieu. The medicine of Hahnemann's life was based on the assumption that sickness was caused by an imbalance in humors that had to be expelled from the body by every method that could be devised, expelled not only by the natural organs of excretion, which were taxed to the limit, but also by artificial and unnatural methods of excretion. Some examples were red wine, arsenic, lead injection for pain or to purge the body of disease, and bloodletting. At that time, there was no anesthesia and antiseptics. In 1767, Hahnemann was tutoring Greek and Latin by the age of 11 to supplement his poor family. In 1775 to 1779, he obtained a scholarship to go to medical school, and throughout his time as a doctor, Hahnemann was translating books in order to support his family. 1790 was an important year in Hahnemann's life because he quit allopathic practice to focus on chemistry and writing because he had at heart the principle of first do no harm. In the same year, while translating William Cullen's lecture on the materia medica into German, he was struck by the fact that the curative effect of cinchona, the medicinal plant containing quinine, were similar to the symptoms of poisoning in a healthy person. Upon realizing this, Hahnemann began experimenting on himself. Those observations led to him asserting the theory, let like be cured by like, and diseases are cured and should be treated by drugs that produce in healthy persons symptoms similar to the diseases. In 1791, homeopathy, as we know, was born, with principle of simplicity to observe and imitate nature. In 1792, Hahnemann was among the great pioneers in the treatment of the insane, and he advised a human treatment for the insane. In the same year, Hahnemann spoke publicly against bleeding treatments. In 1796, he published an essay on his newfound principles of similars, like cures like. In 1800, Hahnemann was convinced that drugs in small doses effectively exerted their curative powers. He advanced his belief of potentization and of dynamization, which would become the process of diluting homeopathic remedies. In 1810, he published his chief work, The Organon of Rational Medicine, which is an exposition of his system called homeopathy. In 1811, Hahnemann published Pure Pharmacology, which was a detailed symptoms produced by proving a large number of drugs. In 1842, The final edition of the argument was published, and in 1843, Samuel Hahnemann passed away at the age of 88 years old. Who was Samuel Hahnemann? Hahnemann was a chemist, writer, musician, astronomer, born physician, and reformer. He was a talented, smart, and great linguist who could function with very little sleep. He was always filling gaps in his education, and he was versed in every branch of knowledge connected with medicine. When he founded homeopathy, Samuel Hahnemann stood against pharmacists, allopathic doctors, and the public opinion, who were watching with scrutiny his steps, waiting for the smallest mistake. Allopathic doctors wanted to destroy homeopathy, but Hahnemann stood up the battle. Hahnemann was working with young men called provers. They were taking homeopathic remedies dissolved in milk sugar powders. Experiments were conducted with extreme care. They were checked and registered. Provers kept daily diary of their symptoms and sensation. Their lifestyle and diet were strictly regulated.
Hahnemann had a significant impact at his time because he changed the societal perceptions of medical practices. There were many barbaric methods that had been largely accepted for centuries. Hahnemann led to the reformation of many of these practices. However, he never really received any acknowledgement. Instead of acknowledging Hahnemann, many of the leaders in medicine at the time asserted that diseases had suddenly changed and that previously used methods like bloodletting were no longer effective. There was a quick shift among professionals from advocating for bloodletting to denouncing it. We have very much moved away from these times, from bloodletting to blood banks. In addition to changing societal perceptions of medicine, Hahnemann moved medicine away from inhumane practices that had become standard at the time. Active medical treatment was very rudimentary. Patients would be kept clean and warm and would be fed on invalid diets while following the usual regime that involved various practices, including bloodletting and purgation. At this time, medicine was based on the assumption that sickness was caused by humors that had to be expelled by the body, not only by the body's own organs, but by various unnatural methods. Hahnemann was one of the first men to call blood the fluid of life and forbid the exsanguination procedure in disease, which led to the denunciation of bloodletting by doctors of the time. Hahnemann also disagreed with the practices of Unani and Ayurvedic prescription, where many ingredients were in a single prescription, advising that patients should only be given one remedy at a time. In 1831, he wrote, "How useless must be the phenomena which appear after the indiscriminate administration of several such unknown drugs together." Hahnemann advocated for a more holistic and less harmful form of healthcare. He encouraged the use of more gentle remedies to treat diseases. For him, the highest ideal of cure is rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of health, or removal and annihilation of disease in its whole extent in the shortest, most reliable, and most harmless way on easily comprehensible principles. Hahnemann has had a significant impact on many principles, modalities, and concepts of health and disease in naturopathic medicine. As the father of homeopathy, Hahnemann proposed many of the principles followed by homeopaths today, whether they are followers of classical or complex homeopathy. Even his Materia Medica is still used today. Homeopathy, along with other traditional forms of treatment such as TCM and Ayurvedic medicine, paved the way for principles which we follow as naturopathic doctors. Whether it's do no harm, the healing power of nature, treating the cause, doctor as teacher, treat the whole person, or prevention. This perspective does somewhat persist today. However, there are mixed opinions on the efficacy and use of homeopathy. For those against homeopathy and often other forms of naturopathic medicine, the argument is that there is no scientific backing. Many against homeopathy say that homeopathic remedies are nothing but placebos. Homeopathy and other forms of alternative medicine have been making their way into the mainstream medicine. Many doctors and patients are looking for less extreme ways to treat their ailments and are striving to maintain their overall health and wellness. As various modalities of alternative and complementary medicine enter the mainstream, physicians aspire to broaden their outlook in order to accommodate them. There has been a remarkable revival of homeopathy since the 1960s and 70s. In the USA in 2002, it was estimated that the number of patients using homeopathic remedies had risen by 500% in the previous 7 years. In Britain, a survey by the BBC in 1999 found that 70% of a group of randomly selected adults had used homeopathy within the past year, and another survey in 1998 estimated that there were 470,000 recent users of homeopathy in the UK. So it's safe to say that many are open and searching for alternative forms of medicine.
Primarily, the most important lesson that Samuel Hahnemann has passed on to naturopathic students is homeopathic medicine, a medical system based on the belief that the body can cure itself. On April 10th, World Homeopathy Day is celebrated to pay tribute to homeopathy and its contribution to the world of medicine. The day is observed on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, its founder. The historical influencer helps students understand the importance of persisting and believing in a path regardless of any criticism. Hahnemann continued to move forth with his beliefs in alternative medicine regardless of the battles and controversies that took place against homeopathy. Hahnemann also practiced applying remedies on himself prior to prescribing it to others. This extends to today, where we as naturopathic students and doctors learn to conduct experimental trials or studies or apply a remedy on ourselves prior to prescribing them to our patients. Last but not the least, Hahnemann established several principles that are practiced by students and doctors today. An example of a principle may be the law of similars. This leads us into our 5 takeaway points from our presentation. Primarily, Hahnemann found that the curative effects of a medicinal plant were similar to the symptoms of poisoning, and upon experimenting this on himself, he was able to discover the law of similars, which states that a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can be used in a diluted form to treat symptoms and illnesses. This is also known as like cures like. Additionally, he also discovered that the more diluted a substance is, the more potent or strong it becomes. This was known as the law of infinitesimals. Secondly, through experimentation and principles, Hahnemann discovered proving and essentially homeopathy. He found that after a drug is homeopathically prepared and administered to healthy volunteers, there are specific symptoms produced and inherent curative powers are revealed. As a result, he was known as the father of homeopathy. There were several pharmacists, allopathic doctors, and others who were against homeopathy and aimed to destroy it. But Hahnemann fought against the public opinion and paved the way for the development of homeopathy by beginning to teach it in the University of Leipzig, and later on, he also formed a Provers Union. Hahnemann's efforts changed society, medicine, and naturopathic profession forever. This is because his practices moved medicine away from inhumane actions by introducing methods that were more gentle, holistic, less harmful, and non-invasive when treating illnesses or diseases. Hahnemann published several major works that included the Organon of Medicine, Materia Medica Pura, and several articles. In 1805, Hahnemann wrote Aesculapius in the Balance. This was an article that questioned the then prevalent medical system about the lack of progress in science. In conclusion, Samuel Hahnemann established homeopathy and fought for its development. Today, homeopathy is a progressive medicine that is commonly used and practiced to help stimulate the healing process within a patient's body. To end, here are some quotes that we found by Samuel Hahnemann. Nature, says Hahnemann, likes simplicity and can perform much with one remedy while you perform little with many. Imitate nature. Medicines should be distinguished from each other with scrupulous exactness with regard to their powers and true effects upon the healthy body. For upon the accuracy of this proving depend life and death, sickness and health of human beings. Here are our references. Thank you for your time.